Hey, everybody. Great to see all y'all out there out in Son of Sam land. We got a great one for you today. Yeah, we got a great one for you today. In fact, today was just is going to be just a quick pop up. Of course, my quick pop ups usually take about 45 minutes because I get into the details and the weeds. You know how we roll over here. But great to see everyone out there in Son of Sam land, and thank you so much for joining me today. Let me get my chat up on these screens so I can see all the happy, shiny people out there in SOS land. Yes, the gang is all here. So, of course, what are we doing today? Well, we're clearing up more, not even more Maury bullshit, although Maury Terry did steer minds into thinking a certain way regarding our topic. And what's our topic? Well, we're talking about the famous call that Wheat Carr got from Detective James Justice at the Brooklyn detective who called to inquire Yonkers Police Department about a parking ticket that David Berkowitz received the night of the Moskowitz shooting. A very famous call, the call that led to his arrest. And of course, Wheat Carr was the dispatcher that, well, everybody thought picked up the phone that night. And of course, listen, I know what's going on out there in the low information conspiratard land, all these idiots who just can't deal with the fact that our video series not only is the most truthful, honest, accurate, sober, information packed, but we're also kicking all their asses up and down YouTube. I mean, that's really what's going on here. A lot of butthurt and very jealous people. But what they're all telling each other now is Wheat Carr, their family were intelligence. Sam Carr was in LA with Mike Carr and their Theta Clear Scientologists. And Wheat Carr was suspicious for answering the phone that night in the Yonkers Police Department. Okay, well, first of all, I am almost positive that they're getting all their genealogy wrong. I call it the Gwen Kubernis method of research. Gwen Kubernis is a researcher that I actually was friends with way in the beginning of this video series 3 years ago, and she was like kind of famous for her genealogy work in the true crime amongst certain contingents. And so I used her a few times, and let me tell you, I had to get rid of her quicker. Let's just put it this way. If you use Gwen Kubernis for your genealogy work, you're going to be issuing a retraction, an apology, and correction show the next time, because she gets everything wrong. So, of course, these people are getting the wrong Mike Carr, the wrong Sam Carr, but meanwhile, they're building on games of telephone with one another, and now all of a sudden it's suspicious that Mike Carr was a Scientologist, as if that means anything. There's like thousands of Scientologists out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know about Scientology. I couldn't care less about it. To me, it's the stupidest shit on planet Earth. People who are into it are the dumbest people on the planet. People who concern themselves with Scientology as if it's something to worry about. Total time wasters, losers. That's all right. People are into this Scientology crap. So I would just like to ask, even if you could prove Mike Carr was like a Scientologist, which he was, okay, as even the family admits it, how does that prove criminal conspiracy in Son of Sam? I would like you to take that next step, please, of actually proving what your insinuations are. So we're dealing with guilt by innuendo, guilt by insinuation. Everyone, of course, out there thinking Wheat Carr was driving the yellow Volkswagen, getting into a crash with Alan Masters and screaming out into the night, "Motherfucker!" I mean, it's getting really stupid at this point. So I figured I would come on here to clear up a huge misconception about the night that Justice called, the night that Detective Justice called Wheat, because there's a huge part of the puzzle that's missing here for people, which changes everything about that story. Of course, I've known about this for 2 years. I've mentioned it on the air many times, but for some reason it has not penetrated. So I figured I would give a full show dedicated to this one topic. And listen, Wheat Carr is a victim of David Berkowitz. The Carr families are heroes of the Son of Sam story, and Wheat Carr is absolutely being treated like despicably by these low information troglodytes who are banding about totally misleading and false genealogical information about people who aren't even members of her family, and then they're telling each other, yeah, this means something. I just like to ask everybody out there who's still a conspiracy head. Let's say that you could like go to Maury Terry's files and there actually was actionable intelligence in there that could lead to a conviction and arrest and conviction in a court of law of an actual perpetrator. I mean, there isn't. It's just words on names on pieces of paper that go nowhere. But let's say that Maury's files was actually real evidence. Okay. Again, they aren't. They're just scribblings of names on paper. Let's just say that, but that it's real evidence. How, like, when are they going to then take these people into court and get convictions? Right. Because I can talk about Wheat Carr being in the process all day long, too. I mean, I can talk about David Berkowitz knowing knowing Bill Menser. I can talk about that all day as well. I mean, you know, if I really wanted to waste my time and yours, I could talk about that all day too. But you got to take the next step as a true crime researcher who's actually interested in advancing these cases. When you actually have evidence, then you got to take it to the next step, which is actionable in court. Like when is that going to happen? These people all think in the conspiracy community that they have the smoking gun answers. Maury Terry is the one that has the answers on his secret files. All right, well then take those secret files and get an interested law enforcement agency to act on them, investigate, and then take someone to court and get a conviction. I mean, because that's what you have to do in order to actually advance anything. So I have a feeling that we'll all be dead. Well, I don't have a feeling. We'll all be dead in about 30 years. I'm 50, you know, I'm lucky if I make it to 80. I know when I'm 80 and I look at YouTube, people are still going to be talking about Mr. Real Estate, and nothing is going to have been advanced in the story. And I know that for a fact because we know that Maury Terry lied through his teeth. So now we have Furby Love, who looks like Eric Galati on here. So Mike Carr frequented Clearwater, Florida. So did Ira Schwartz from Brooklyn. So did Donnie Mastroianno from the Bronx. You know who else went to Clearwater? Probably millions of other people. I mean, so what? Who cares? So he goes to Clearwater, Florida. Even if he goes to Clearwater, Florida, if he's a Scientologist, he has a reason to be there. There's like a Scientology headquarters in Clearwater, Florida. I happen to see nothing nefarious about that. People are allowed to practice their religions, as odious or as stupid as you may think they are. I mean, again, I couldn't care less about Scientology, as if this is something that I'm going to waste my time on. I actually deal in evidence and like actual things that you can prove conclusively. And so what we've done here on this channel, of course, is springboard from Maury Terry's Ultimate Evil, because most of us were fans of that book. And then we realized how badly he lied. And the way we do it is by comparing the actual evidence with his words. So let's get started today. So Furby Love, you know what, Ruby, give Furby a timeout, because I'm taking the Jason Goodman tack now. Who is this guy to tell me to lower my tone? Furby, go F yourself, okay? Ruby, give this guy a timeout. Let's see if he starts behaving himself. All right, so let's get started. So, of course, Wheat delivers justice to David Berkowitz. Yes, and of course, here's the famous Wheat Carr in a very unknown photograph of her that was published in the newspaper many years ago. Wheat, this may be inappropriate, but actually, this is one of the best pictures ever taken of you, I have to say. You're quite a good-looking woman in this one. Yonkers police, and of course, me coming to not save the day, but to enact restorative justice to this crap, because I've had enough of this. Wheat Carr, I'm not going to call her a friend, but we have become acquainted over the past few years. Let me just tell all the people who are now like 2 years late doing the work that I did 2 years ago, trying to tie Francis Carr to intelligence and the answering service to intelligence. Like, I did this all 2 years ago, guys. It went nowhere. Let me just save you some time. Wheat Carr is not guilty in any way, shape, or form of any capacity in the Son of Sam crimes, neither as her brother, neither as her father and her mother. This was just an innocent family who happened to be known because David Berkowitz brought them into his web of insanity. If he had chosen the house next door, you all would be talking about those people as intelligence assets, and the Wheat Carr and Wheat and her family would never have been known. And it's really a testimony to the stupidity of the moron that this shit still goes on. But let's carry on. Wheat delivers justice to David Berkowitz. So I'm competing with the Bills and Chiefs. Wow, 37 people on 15 minutes notice. That's pretty damn good. I know most of those people who are watching are haters, but that's all right. They need me more than my fans. All right. So sorry, Mauristas. So the Terry cult thinks that it's suspicious that Wheat Carr picked up the phone at YPD that night. Brooklyn detectives called. Now, I don't particularly see what's so suspicious. If she picked up the phone, she worked in the dispatch office. She was an employee of the Yonkers Police Department. She was on duty that night. I understand that's a coincidence, because she happened to live across the street from Berkowitz, who happened to be he happened to be harassing her, and not only harassing, but committing serious felonies against her family. But she was just there that night. Okay. So I don't see why it's so suspicious that an employee of the dispatch office picks up the phone. Okay. But of course, the Terry cult thinks that she was placed there in that particular night in order to specifically answer the phone, right? So the entire thesis of Wheat being suspicious in Son of Sam is based and predicated upon this whole notion that she was in the dispatch office. She was the one that received the call from Justice, because somehow or other she knew that Detective Justice was going to call that night, because somehow or other she knew that was the night they were going to call because of the parking ticket, which she somehow knew about because she knew David Berkowitz. Guys, again, she was an employee of the Yonkers Police Department. It's not suspicious that an employee of the Yonkers Police Department picks up the phone when the Yonkers Police Department is called. I mean, it just makes like logical sense. Okay, but what if the Terry cult is missing a huge piece of the story of the night Justice called YPD? And, spoiler alert, let me tell you, they're missing a huge piece of the story, one that's going to completely clear everything up, and one that is going to make the Mauristas feel very dumb as usual, of course, if they're capable of feeling dumb. They would have to, of course, inculcate this knowledge into their operating systems, accept it as true fact, in order to feel dumb and to feel shame. But no, somehow I have a feeling that tomorrow and the next day, people are still going to be talking about Wheat Carr as the intelligence asset. But anyway, this is going on the historical record and it's not going off. And so does this new information change the entire color of the story? And I say yes to that. But before we get to the new bombshell information, and I do have a brand new statement never before given by Wheat Carr, which she sent to me specifically today to air on today's show. Hold on, Gary's comic. Hey, Gary, haven't seen you in a while, man. Great to see you back. I spoke to Wheat as a New York tel rep back around 94. She was adding a business line to the answering service, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean, again, nothing, Gary, I mean, it's like that was their business. There's actually nothing suspicious about that whatsoever. Not that you were implying that, Gary, but I'm just saying. Just adding that to the thing. All right, so let's see Maury's portrayal of this night and the mind steering that occurs when he writes. Catch 44. So Detective James Justice had absolutely no idea that anything of interest was about to come his way as he waited for the Yonkers police operator to return. To him, this call was strictly routine. He tried 4 times to reach Berkowitz without success. For all he knew, the man was out of town. The supervisors wanted this witness thing cleared up, so he'd asked the Yonkers cops to notify Berkowitz and have him call the 10th. So just so we are all aware, they thought Berkowitz was a witness to the crime, and the 10th was the 10th homicide zone in Brooklyn. Then Justice could get on with more pressing matters in the investigation, specifically the matter of the yellow VW. In a moment, a new Yonkers operator was on the line. Police headquarters, 82. Yes, this is Detective Justice from Brooklyn Robbery Squad, New York City Police Department. Yes, I'm working in the 10th homicide zone now on the 44 caliber killer. All right, so mind steering here, right? So this transcript of the actual conversation between Wheat Carr and Justice has never been made public before. And by the way, we will be reading the entire thing in a minute or two. It vividly shows what role NYPD Berkowitz played in the Son of Sam saga and invalidates numerous police proclamations which followed the arrest when the authorities claimed they were initially highly suspicious of Berkowitz. Wheat Carr was a police and gun buff, owning a .357 Magnum, a .25 caliber, and a .22 caliber. She had a mother named Frances and a black Labrador retriever named Harvey. She also had a brother named Michael, 24, a freelance advertising stylist, photographer, and a designer who was a ranking member of the Church of Scientology. At that minute, her older brother, 30-year-old John Carr, was on the road. New York was far behind him as he crossed the Midwestern United States, angling north. John Carr had his reasons for vacating the metropolitan area, and his reasons involved David Berkowitz. Well, first of all, no, they didn't. John Carr didn't know David Berkowitz. His wife gave an interview where he said that he had no clue he was. There's so much steering in here. All right. So first of all, it claims that she was the person who picked up that night. Okay. We're gonna learn a little bit more about that. A new Yonkers operator was on the line. Okay. So he called 4 times. On the 4th time, the implication is that Wheat Carr picks up 82 was her ID, and he starts this conversation with Wheat. That's what we all thought. We're gonna learn the truth a little later, but that's what we all thought. And so the steering occurs, right? So it says here, it talks about all her guns. So it then connects in your mind Wheat Carr with guns and gun buffs, right? It connects into your mind Church of Scientology to the Carr family, and that's going to be suspicious somehow to the mind of the Maurista. And then, of course, it then brings in the 3rd member of the triumvirate, John Carr, and it says he's involved with David Berkowitz, and then the implication is that Wheat Carr was involved with David Berkowitz. So the implication in all of this is that Wheat Carr, it's suspicious that Wheat Carr picked up the phone that night in Brooklyn, and that's what they're telling each other. I have all the screenshots. I can prove it. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to waste our time reading this idiocy. But that's what these people are literally telling each other this day, yesterday, last week. Wheat is guilty. She's an intelligence agent. Her family are intelligence agents. The answering service is suspicious. The mother is a Marine, so it's suspicious. The brother is a Scientologist, so it's suspicious. And meanwhile, 2 years ago, we did all this work and went nowhere. Guys, I mean, have fun. Enjoy your choose your own adventure game that you're playing. But just know that that's what you're doing. You're not dealing in actual fact. And one of the reasons is because you think that this night Wheat picked up the phone. We're going to learn something important. You know, it's funny. John is over here. He said, Wheat, thank you from Maury for helping NYPD catch Berkowitz. Was the slander and her family? What, right? Exactly. Gary is okay. He's getting over the flu. Yeah, bro. Let me tell you, a lot of people are coming down with something right now. It's bad out there. Of course, I'm not worried about getting sick. I mean, it's ridiculous. Oh, I'm worried about the flu. I'm worried about the... I'm not saying that you're doing that, Gary, but I'm just making fun of the branch COVIDians. Oh, yesterday was hilarious. I'm walking across this bridge over the highway, and I see a branch COVIDian walking towards me. You know, the typical look, middle-aged white woman, gray hair, mousy look, thin, sexless, no sex appeal, no joy. Of course, big mask on her face. And Maxie and I are walking, and Maxie's like a cool customer. He doesn't ever intimidate people on the streets. And he just walks next to her, and she started freaking out. She like almost fell into the road and almost got hit by a car because she was so scared. I mean, that's what this government did, and this system did to a lot of people. I mean, it broke their brains completely. I mean, we're living in a different world than it was in 2020. People are not normal out there, guys. This is like, especially here in New York City. I mean, it's still a shit show. All right. So let's deal with the issue at hand. I haven't yet spilled the beans as to why the Maurista is completely wrong about this night, but we're going to get to it. But in the interest of historical accuracy, let's deal with the issue at hand. So, of course, we have the police reports here. This is Detective Justice, right? JL Justice, and it's police report 269, and it's dated 8/9/77, which is before the arrest, actually, August 9th, 77. This is the attempted notification by a Yonkers PD. Okay, so this is the undersigned confer with operator of number 82 of Yonkers PD. Read this notification. When the name David Berkowitz was mentioned, she got very excited and asked if he lived at 35 Pine Street. When told that he did, she explained the following. Anyway, we're going to go through all of this. We don't need to read it twice. But the point being here is that I can understand why people think that Wheat picked up the phone that day, because it says here, the underside confirmed with operator 82 of Yonkers PD. Read this notification. There's a huge piece of the information left out of here. Humongous bombshell information that actually changes everything about the entire tenor and color of this story of Wheat picking up the phone. Because remember, Wheat picking up the phone is somehow suspicious. In the mind of the Maurista, Wheat picking up the phone means she was placed there by the cult in order to specifically deflect onto David Berkowitz, being the guilty party. And so she was playing her role as the intelligence asset. Now, this is insane talk, or I understand it. I'm just telling you what the Mauristas are telling each other in their game of circle jerk and their choose your own adventure. I mean, not even Maury was this crazy. Right? Not even Jonathan Mitchell is this insane. Actually, let me check that. Oh, by the way, Mitchell, we're coming after you, bro. You lied about me on Opperman. I heard it. You said I saw some files that prove the process was involved in Son of Sam. I've never seen files like that in my life. What's this guy talking about? John, you're going to have to produce those documents, and then you're going to come on the air, and we're going to have a debate. Okay? So anyway, So I can understand why these people think that, because, you know, they're getting only part of the story and they're getting it from Maury Terry. So again, this is just more of the same. Nothing here major that we need to speak to. Just about talking to just about what happened after Justice spoke to Wheat. They started talking about Berkowitz. Two police officers that had further information on Berkowitz. Check with BCI, no record on Berkowitz, right? P.O. Chamberlain, and then now Chamberlain and Intervallo start getting involved. Now, they had already told the detective like a week or two before about Berkowitz. It was completely ignored in NYPD. They actually called, I believe, Detective Salverson, or he might have been up in Yonkers doing an intelligence briefing, and they spoke to him personally. And they ignored him. The New York Police Department had Berkowitz's name, I believe, before the Moskowitz shooting, and nothing was ever done. So anyway, we don't have to go. Oh, sorry. Duh, I'm not even showing this stuff. We don't have to go through all of this stuff here. Again, it's just a lot of details that aren't really that relevant. All of this stuff is available to you in the Queens DA and the Yonkers files. I highly recommend that you look for these things and study it yourself. But remember, the Carrs learned David's name in early June, right? So let's deal with this now in logical order. So, of course, the Mauristas think it's suspicious that Wheat Carr picked up the phone that night because she was placed there by the process in order to specifically receive the call from Justice that they knew was coming. I don't know how they knew it was coming, and I don't know why they would place Wheat there that night as opposed to another night to pick up that phone call that they knew was coming, even though they had no way to know that it was coming because, I mean, unless the process is running the New York Police Department. I haven't even heard the Mauristas make that claim. But again, when you're dealing with this stuff, you're not dealing with logic or actual real reality that exists in the corporeal present world as constituted that exists. You're dealing with choose your own adventure. So in their mind, it's suspicious that Wheat was there and that she knew David Berkowitz's name somehow or other. That means something. Mauristas, the Carrs learned David's name in early June, right? June 10th, 1977 is when the Casaras met the Carrs, and all of a sudden the name David Berkowitz comes into the mix here. This is a Yonkers police report from June 10th, 1977, about threatening letters. It's a follow-up, June 10th. This is almost 2 months before, 2.5 months before the, month and a half before the shooting of Moskowitz. I don't know offhand when the Placido Lupo shooting was, but this might have been before that as well. If someone wants to hit me up in the chat with that date, I don't have it offhand. The Carrs knew Berkowitz's name in early June. I spoke to somebody in the dispatch office named Ray Pataki. He told me that Wheat Carr was saying David Berkowitz's name in that dispatch office for months. He used the word months. Okay. So that makes sense, because if in August is coming around and they learned his name in early June, then months is an appropriate term to use. Wheat Carr was sounding the alarm about David Berkowitz at Yonkers PD to anybody who would listen. And let me tell you something, very few people listened to her. Okay. So June 26th. All right. So it was before, right, Dave. So thank you. It was before. 2 shootings, Son of Sam shootings, could have been avoided had Berkowitz been arrested for these crimes on June 10th, or at least picked up and questioned. That is the big issue with Yonkers Police Department, and whatever negligence might have occurred. It all lies in the fact that they had Berkowitz's name and really didn't do anything about it by early June. All right. So, of course, Weed is talking about Berkowitz. So would you, if you just learned the name of the guy who was harassing you and you happened to work at the police department. You'd be telling everybody about this guy, David Berkowitz. I mean, don't try to deny that you wouldn't. You would. So let's read the actual transcript, and then we'll get into the new bombshell information. So it's a transcription of a taped phone call made to Yonkers Police Department on August 9th by Detective James Justice, 10th Homicide Zone, New York City Police Department, and received by Wheat Carr, a civilian employee of the Yonkers Police Department. Now, we'll get into speculation later. Okay, from the tape. This is Captain Owen McLean from the Yonkers Police Department Communications. I'm recording an excerpt from a tape of August 9th, 77. Remember, excerpt. This is important. This is not the whole recording. This is what people don't understand. And this is going to lead us into our bombshell information, which is fact and which changes everything. And now this has to be brought into the mindset of the Maurista, because you can't ignore the bombshell information that we're going to hit you with tonight. This is a conversation between Detective Justice of the New York City Police Department and Public Safety Dispatcher Wheat Carr of the Yonkers Communication Division, and it commences at approximately 20 hours. Ooh, it's a 22. Oh, there's an embedded 22. It means something. Said date. Conversation ends at approximately 15 hours. Police Headquarters 63. Hello, this is Detective Justice, Brooklyn Police Department. Yes. We would like to get a notification made up there in Yonkers. Yes, all right, hold on. Female. Police Headquarters 82. So now this is Wheat picking up the phone. Remember, this is an excerpt of a conversation, not the entire conversation. Justice. Yes, this is Detective Justice from the Brooklyn Robbery Squad, New York City Police Department. Yes. I'm working in the 10th Homicide Zone now on the 44 caliber killer. Yeah. And I'm trying to contact a party that lives up in Yonkers who is possibly a witness to the crime down here. That's a Mr. David Berkowitz. Oh, no. Oh, no. Do you know him? Heavy sigh. Could I? I was very involved. This is the guy that I think is responsible. Uh-oh. Wheat was involved. She was involved. David Berkowitz? 82 is responsible. My father was down there Saturday. Yeah. And you also got information is he at 35 Pine Street? Yes, dear. David Berkowitz. I don't know how you or what, but my father went down to the 109th, and someone received information through our police officers, and that's because of some incidents involving shooting where we have reason to believe that this person is responsible. He has also written similar type threatening letters to the sheriff's investigator who recently moved into his apartment. So I don't Do you know David Berkowitz yourself? Important question. I don't know him. I really, because of a shooting incident in my home and a firebombing and threatening letters at your home. And through an investigation, found out that this is probably the person. Did you notify the police department on it? Oh, yeah. There are numerous reports on it, and information regarding this guy was given to your department on Saturday. Now, I want to just say something. This is all true according to the evidence that we've seen. Nothing Wheat Carr has said in here is deceptive or a lie in any way, shape, or form. It could all be backed up. Just go watch my shows on the car crimes. I show you all the reports. We talk about how Sam Carr went to the 109th on August 6th. We didn't talk about it in another show, but Intervallo and Chamberlain right here, right? Intervallo and Chamberlain went to Salverson and NYPD and told them about him. So anyway, I don't know him. I really, because of a shooting incident in my home and firebombing and threatening letters at your home, and through investigation found out that this is probably the person. Did you know okay, so there's a lot of reports. Yeah, well, I'm doing it another way. He got a summons down here that night, right in the vicinity. Oh my God. He, because we have seen him and he fits the description. This why my father went down there with his whole file of copies of the letters we've received from him. And I believe that the Westchester County Sheriff's Department is investigating because he threatened the sheriff's investigator. My dog was shot with a .44 caliber bullet. Oh, really? At least that's what it was supposed to have been. So Mike Perez, get rid of this guy. This is Neo. He's using the name of a friend of mine from the YPD, Mike Perez. It's pathetic. I mean, we can keep him up here. Actually, keep him up here because he's just making himself look like a total idiot. The people of, all right, so she says, my dog was shot with a .44 caliber. Oh, really? At least that's what it was supposed to have been. The people who have seen it claim it was a .44. Ah, laughing. He just scared me to death. Now you're telling me he's a witness? Well, we don't know. A possible witness, and from what you are telling me, a possible perpetrator. And he owns a yellow car. He has a yellow, I'd say a yellow Ford, I believe it is. Yeah. The 109th, is that Brooklyn? Jim's Justice. No, that's Queens. We're working out of the 10th homicide zone in Brooklyn. Wheat. Okay, well, my father went to the 109th on Saturday, okay? Last week, someone was up here at our intelligence unit and at that time spoke with police officers Chamberlain and Intervallo, and they gave him information just on a long shot now because he does resemble the picture. I don't know him personally. Very important right here. This is spoken about in Klausner's book. Intervallo and Chamberlain are heroes of the Son of Sam story. We're going to do a show on them too. The detective Salverson from NYPD was up at Yonkers Police Department giving a briefing because they thought that the guy was going to hit Yonkers next. And at that briefing, Intervallo and Chamberlain knew about the Berkowitz crimes in the neighborhood and felt that he was the son of Sam. And they went to Salverson and they said, "This is the son of Sam. We believe that this is the guy that you're looking for." And Salverson immediately shit canned it. He just totally ignored it. Okay. All right. So you know of Berkowitz, right? Through incidents that have occurred that I have reason to believe that you could prove in court that he's responsible for a shooting incident at my home. Justice. Yonkers had at home and believes Berkowitz responsible. He happens to be, he either was or is now employed as a rent-a-cop, like a security guard. Rent-a-cop. You use the same terms we use down here, huh? Yeah. Your dog shot with a large caliber bullet. It's never been confirmed because you know how it happens, right? 17 people have 17 different jobs and nobody gets together. And it's only in the last week that these two cops and I got together and put all the reports together and got the DD reports where he is doing everything. Justice, let me ask you something, honey. With his name, do you have a pistol license bureau up there that would okay, supposedly he has a permit either to shoot by New York City or has an application now being processed in relation to this in New York City. He holds no permit in the city of Yonkers at this time, but possibly here in New York City? Possibly because he was employed as a security guard. Well, you know who you should get in touch with, and if you will hold, I will find out where he is working. All right. It is either police officers Chamberlain and Intervallo who, for their own reasons, put this all together just because it happens to be their sector where I live. Chamberlain or Intervallo? Yes. Would you be able to do me the honors, please? Well, I'll find out where they are. They're not working right now. I know that, okay? Can you hold on a minute? All right. Pause. Justice talking to background persons. I have something beautiful here. I wanted to talk to this guy about a summons. Lives up in Yonkers. I was talking to Yonkers to get a notification made, and she says, oh, no, not him. He shot my dog with a 44 about a month ago. He's crazy. He's sending threatening letters to the deputy sheriff's office. Operator 82. That's Wheat. Could I get your name and I'll have one of them call you back? All right. My name is Justus. Justus. I'm thinking, what the hell number should I give you? I'll give you this one, 946-3336. Uh-oh, it's a 33. It's Masonic. There's Masons involved. 9, 4, and 6 add up to 20. 19, that's an occultic number. Yeah, you could do anything with this kind of crap. And that's a 212 exchange. 212-946-3336, and you are Detective Justice? Right. Okay, can I ask you a favor, honey? Operator 82. Can I get your name, please? Sure. My name is Carr, C-A-R-R. First name, honey? Wheat. W-H-E-A-T. See, right there, that should have set off alarm bells, right? Because of the Wheaties in the Son of Sam letter. Not because she's guilty, but because of the name is so similar. My father is Samuel Carr. He went down there with all the information the other day. And then, of course, he says the father's name is Sam, right? So right there, this should have set off alarm bells, and maybe it did, and Justice just didn't say anything. Where do you live, Miss Carr? 316 Warburton Avenue. And that is immediately behind the back of his house and the back of mine. The back of his apartment, the back of my home face each other. There's also a Westchester County Sheriff's Department investigation because he wrote letters to this sheriff's investigator who has the apartment underneath him saying that my father planted him there and he is going to get us instead. Sorry, he's going to get us probably killed, but I'm not sure. It doesn't pick up. But I'll have Peter or Tommy call you back. Now that's Chamberlain and Intervallo. I'll call them at home. Do you know how to spell the last guy's name? Not Chamberlain, the Intervallo, just like it sounds, right? Okie doke, honey. Thank you a lot. Thank you very much, dear. Operator 82, Wheat Carr. Bye-bye. This concludes the telephone operation. So on and so forth. All right. So, just from reading this entire thing, not the excerpt that Maury pulled out, you can clearly see Wheat giving information that she's been dying to give the cops and everybody who would listen for months now about David Berkowitz. She wasn't holding anything back. She freely gave the cops of Chamberlain and Intervallo's name. She told the truth about everything that she claimed there that has been backed up in our research now, was looking at the police files. Wheat Carr is remarkably consistent and a truth teller. So what's this new information? Okay. Now this is huge. It's not going to come as a surprise to people who've been with me and actually listening, but this is something that you guys should really know about because this really kind of changes everything. So this actually, it's funny because Neo's here as Mike Perez and acting like a total lunatic. And what's sad is that he was part of getting this information to us. And if he was still on our team, he'd be doing this show with me, and he'd be getting the accolades and the attention that he wants and all the praise and laudatory fame that somehow he feels he's not getting. When 2 years ago now, this is now 2 years of information that I've known, that I've inculcated into my head. One of the reasons why I'm not worried about Wheat Carr being a plant. I don't understand why people don't realize this simple fact. Wheat Carr didn't pick up the phone that night. Okay. Sorry, guys. She was not the person that actually picked up the phone. Right? Let me let that sink into you. Remember, the Mauristas predicate Wheat Carr being the person who picked up the phone as being the most suspicious thing in the world. She was planted there. She knew that she was put there specifically to put the blame on Berkowitz. She was planted in the police department through her intelligence agency parents, and that she was in place to pick up the phone from Justice that night. Remember that that entire conspiracy theory is predicated on the fact that Wheat Carr was there to pick up the phone, but she didn't. Now, I'm not going to give the guy's name because I'm not sure he wants to be made public, but I'm going to give his initials. So the people who really know the story, the backstory, And the people who really know the Yonkers Police Department dispatch people know that I'm telling the truth. This guy's initials were S as in Sam, D as in door. SD pick up the phone that night. This was a man. He told us the story. I was in shock when I was hearing it because this was still during the time when I thought Wheat was guilty. This guy told me straight up, he said, Manny, I'm the person who picked up the phone that night. And when the guy from Brooklyn started talking about David Berkowitz, I cut him off and I said, no, sorry. I'm not the person to speak to here about David Berkowitz. The person that you want to speak to, SD told to whoever called from Brooklyn. And again, I'm not quite sure who it was who called, because remember, they called 4 times. The person who picked up the phone that night, SD, and handed it to Wheat Carr, he did so because he said, Wheat has been talking about, you want to speak to Wheat, Brooklyn. I'm going to give you the phone to Wheat Carr because she's been talking about this guy, David Berkowitz, for months. SD told me and Neo this on the phone. We had a community call, whatever you call it, 3-way call. This guy said, I picked up the phone. As soon as I heard the name David Berkowitz, I gave the call to Wheat because I knew that she was having trouble with this guy for months. Now, that's all, again, backed up by the actual evidence. The Carrs learned David's name in early June. This call from Justice comes in on August 9th. Okay, August 9th. That's 2 months roughly of Wheat Carr telling everybody who would listen about, thank you, Gary, about David Berkowitz being the son of Sam, being the perpetrator, being this crazy guy. So think about this. Wheat Carr was not put there that night to specifically pick up the phone from her intelligence handlers because she didn't pick up the phone. She was given the phone because someone else picked it up, took that call. If it could have gone a completely different way. The SD, the guy who picked up the phone that night, could have taken all the information and done all that. Wheat Carr might not even have been on duty that night. She just happened to be in the same dispatch office. She didn't pick up the phone. She was in there. SD picks up, hears Berkowitz's name, and gives her the phone. This changes the whole thing. Because if your theory is predicated on the fact that she was planted there at Yonkers PD specifically, and that's what they're telling each other, that's what these people are telling each other in their choose your own adventure game. If you're predicating your theory on the fact that she was planted there, well, then the fact that she didn't pick up the phone that night, it totally changes it. I mean, in my mind, it does anyway. So I have a new statement given to me today, written today by Wheat Carr, which I'm going to read to you verbatim. I haven't edited it. I haven't changed the wording. I haven't done anything other than her words. And what the reason why this statement came out is because well, for one, Wheat trusts me to actually get information out that's accurate and unedited and unfiltered, and her words, because she knows I'm an honest dealer. She knows I'm not out here trying to screw her over. And what's funny is our relationship started by me trying to screw her over. I had some files I was working with, and I knew some inside information about some of her friends. And I got in touch with her to try to trick her into confessing to being the shooter of Virginia Voskerichian and the driver that night who ran away from Alan Masters screaming, "Motherfucker!" And what I found was a very amiable, very polite, very cultured person who really was a nice lady. And once I actually got to know the human, I started to realize that this whole thing was bullshit, and we were really barking up the wrong tree with this. As Gary says here, I feel horrible because I once believed the lies about Wheat because of Terry. Yeah, me too. And my whole raisons d'etre, one of the reasons I do this video series is to clear the Carr family name. They deserve it. They were the heroes of Son of Sam. I'm sorry, some people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. your fantasies of Francis Carr being a military agent in the Marines and somehow having an answering service that was an intelligence front. I mean, listen, if you want to believe it, that's fine. I mean, people believe that the world was made in 5 days and that Santa Claus and his elves make toys up at the North Pole and that the abominable snowman exists. I mean, people believe that. I mean, and that's fine if you want to believe it. But we choose to deal with reality. So I got in touch with Wheat today and I said, listen, I think this is actually important that I do a show on this because people right now are going around talking about this call of yours that they think that you picked up that night. And I know for a fact that you didn't pick up the phone that night. I know for a fact that SD picked up the phone that night. Again, I'm not going to name this guy. He exists. Those in the know that I'm telling the truth. I don't care if people think that I'm lying about that because I'm not. Wheat Carr knows I'm telling the truth. Even Neo knows I'm telling the truth. Or Mike Perez, I should say. So I asked Wheat about to confirm it for me, and and if she had any statement that she wanted to make, and so she put this statement up, and we'll read it verbatim. Manny, you asked, quote, is the information that Jim Justice call was originally answered by another dispatcher correct? The answer is yes. So Wheat Carr herself is confirming something that I already knew, that the Jim Justice call was originally answered by another dispatcher. The answer is yes, and that detail is not part of the original transcript, which only details most of my conversation. Now, this is true too. We just saw in that dispatch report that it was an excerpt of a conversation. Captain Slappy, yes. The elves were driving the yellow VW. I knew it. Gary, sorry, man. The elves don't make the toys, man. The Chinese slave laborers do. All right, so let's get back to this. So far, everything I have never caught Wheat ever lying to me. I mean, everything she says is truthful. The sequence of events is the switchboard operator call came in on the non-emergency telephone number after Justice, explained he was calling to request a notification to ask a possible witness to contact him. She followed the YPD procedure at the time, required that have a job put on it, quote, unquote, and the caller should be transferred to the radio room first. Another dispatcher took the call. Yes, SD took the call. SD took this call, heard the name Berkowitz, and then told me, this call is for you. That's the exact same story that SD told me on the phone 2 years ago. Wheat is telling the absolute 100% truth here. The lieutenant on duty in the radio room was told by the operator and the other dispatcher the nature of the call. Lieutenant, listened to my side of the conversation and said, quote, when you are finished, transfer that call to the North Command. I believe he may have called the North to let the street supervisors and patrol officers on duty who had information know what was coming. After speaking with me, Justice was transferred to the North Command. 24 hours later, Berkowitz was in custody. Note 1, the original transcript was in response to an order for a transcript of the conversation between Dispatcher 82. Thus, the routing details before the conversation were not included. So that's why, my friends, in this transcript, which says here that they're only listening to an excerpt, doesn't have anything before 82 gets on the line. Wheat Carr did not pick up the phone that night, guys. SD did. So unless you're going to say that this SD, who I spoke to, solid gentleman, nice guy, friends with all the cops that I was friends with on the YPD, retired. They all knew him, vouched for him, said he was a solid individual. What he told me 2 years ago is backed up now exactly by Wheat Carr, and those two didn't talk. And Wheat Carr's information is being backed up by the actual excerpt of the call and all of the police reports. So you see what we do here. We don't show you newspaper articles and then play choose your own adventure with opinions in our head because that are formed out of our own warped biases about the way the world really works. What we deal with here are the actual people involved in this horrific event called Son of Sam. And to the extent that we can, we elicit all the information that we possibly can about it. There's another note here at the bottom. Note 2, I could be wrong, but I seem to remember the what happened next was fairly accurately described in Jimmy Breslin's book. Now, Wheat Carr loves Jimmy Breslin's book. I have never read Jimmy Breslin's book, but Wheat always says it's one of the most accurate ones that there is out there. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to maybe I'll read it. I own it. I have it. I got to read it at some point. It seemed to me to be a dramatization of the events, not actually a reporting of it. But I could be wrong about that. But anyway, guys, I wanted to come on the air today. Well, because for one, we had a show about Jonathan Mitchell's bullshit book this morning that was scheduled, but we couldn't do it today because of, some unforeseen circumstances. I don't want to talk about personal issues or anything like that. But the show today was impossible to do. So John and I are just going to do it next week. I mean, I prepared the most devastating takedown you possibly can. I cannot wait to do it. And again, I'm going to put out the public call to Mitchell because he slandered me. He said that I have personally seen documents that prove the process did Son of Sam, and that I know for a fact that that's true, and that I'm lying to all of you. He said it. We're going to hear the tape. So my call to Jonathan, who I know is watching this, you have a week to prepare those documents, sucker. And you're going to bring them public, and you're going to bring them on my show. And we're going to look at these documents together, and you're going to tell me what you think that I saw. Anyway, guys, yes, the Captain Slappy. So I can always rely on Captain to bring clarity to this. Seems pretty clear. Call came in, got transferred multiple times. Lots of people immediately knew about it, and it was passed down to other cops who may have information. Standard operating procedure. Exactly. Not no. Hold on 1 second. So Mr. Moff here, off topic from Wheat being a plant, but has any potential connection with Stephen Crawford, who killed Arliss Perry? No, but I can save you a lot of time, Mr. Moff. There's no connection between Stephen Crawford and John Carr. Yeah, and so basically that's it. So again, this information, of course, is going to be ignored by the choose your own adventurists, by the opinionites, by the people who love newspaper articles and then proceed to just flippantly and freely slander and lie about people who are currently living, which is an actionable offense, which is a lawsuit worthy offense. My suggestion to them would be to cease and desist, issue a retraction and apology, and move on with another topic, because you're not able to handle this one correctly. Wheat Carr did not pick up the phone at Yonkers PD that night. It was SD who picked up the phone, heard the name Berkowitz, and handed it to Wheat because she had been complaining vociferously and loudly about Disco Dave Berkowitz for months. The felon who was harassing her family, in addition to the Netto family, in addition to committing the Son of Sam crimes, in addition to harassing Craig Glassman and Jack and Nan Cassara. So it's going to be fun watching them ignore this, try to work around it, try to justify, again, more insanity. But all I can do here is bring you the story as I know it, as I've investigated it, with both alone and with other people. This is one that gets credit to Neo as well, from 2 years ago when we were working together so well before I don't know what happened to the guy. Something broke in the guy's head. I'm actually concerned about him. Like I actually have human concern and sympathy for someone who's clearly going through something. So Neo, please get some help, because you may think that you're owning me and that the stuff that you're doing looks good, but I can assure you that it doesn't. And so That's why I wanted to do this, just to clear up a historical wrong, clear up the name of the Carr family once again, particularly Wheat Carr, who is a lovely person and who, as she reaches, the waning years of her life, I know she's not going to be happy to hear that, but she's not a young woman anymore. She needs to know that there's people out here who got her back and who are defending her against these baseless lies, these choose your own adventurists. It's disgusting to me. Anyway, guys, so I will see you with, unless something comes up before, I will see you guys next Sunday, December 17th at 11 a.m. with the great John Catalano, where we will absolutely and utterly destroy the so-called work of the Maurista in chief, the absolute lunatic, the shit stain, the liar, the slanderer, Jonathan Mitchell. Take care, everybody.